Good morning. My name is Sister Mary Lechtenberg, a member of the pastoral care team at Mount St. Francis Center. We welcome all of you who are gathered here in the Clare Chapel and those who are watching in our in-house system, as well as Sister Veronica's family and friends who are joining us through live stream. We gather today to honor her and to remember her life with us. We have known and love Sister Veronica, who is the last in the line of Schafer women who have lived the Franciscan way of life for over 150 years. Her great aunt, Sister Philomena, joined the early community in Iowa City. Interestingly, to all of you sisters, her laundry number was 36. Veronica's aunt, Sister Leonissa, was her dad's sister, as well as Sister Ermina. Another aunt was a Maryknoll missionary. Her grandmother's sister, on the other side of the family, was Sister Hedwig. Veronica's mother's sister was Sister Rosalinda, and also her mother's sister was Sister Laetitia. Another of her mother's sisters, that's the third one now, joined the Divine Providence Sisters, and she also received the name of Sister Laetitia. We know that Veronica's blood sisters, Sister Mary Conrad, who we know as Teresa, and Mary Elizabeth was known as Sister Teresita. Veronica followed her sisters to Mount St. Francis and was received in 1946 with the name Sister Mary Herman. She takes the prize for having so many sister ancestors who were Franciscans. The people of God have been gifted by these women who shared Franciscan life for so many years and in so many ways. We know that our love continues with Sister Veronica. We are never separated from it, for love lives on forever. Today we rejoice as she has left our community on earth, and that she has a ready-made Franciscan family waiting to receive her, where the great mystery of life continues. Sister Veronica was so proud of the name Schafer, which means shepherd. She prayed with that image, and so now we will sing the hymn she so loved, Shepherd Me, O God, number 459, verse 1, number 459.
A reading of Psalm 23, adapted by Nan Merrill. O my beloved, you are my shepherd. I shall not want. You bring me to green pastures for rest, and lead me beside still waters, renewing my spirit. You restore my soul. You lead me in the path of goodness to follow love's way. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow and of death, I am not afraid, for you are ever with me. Your rod and your staff, they guide me. They give me strength and comfort. You prepare a table before me in the presence of all my fears. You bless me with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the heart of the beloved forever. Amen. The words of our God.
At this time, memories of our sister Veronica will be shared. Some have been sent to us by a family member or two. And those present here, you may raise a hand and a microphone will be brought to you. Please state your name and stand if you are comfortable.
I'm Sister Virginia Jennings. Sister Ruth Ellsburn, the last remaining classmate of Sister Veronica, could not be here this morning, but she did prepare some memories that we will hear now. She would very much like us to know her thoughts. Veronica was a bit older when most of us had just graduated from high school, or like Dolores Smith, were still in classes at ICA. Since we came on August 25th, we worked at jobs until Loras College started. We were the only women, for Loras was not yet co-ed, and we wore tams and black dresses with white collars. We were not supposed to talk to the boys. A community bus driven by our Harry would chug and choke its way up the lower Loras Boulevard hill. What stood out in Veronica was her common sense and her willingness to take on leadership when the class was asked to produce something. Starting as a musician, Veronica also taught when need arose. She and Sister Rose Marie Weepy took turns playing the organ for the community on Sundays, and Sister Madonna taught us plain chant using the thick Libra chant books. In those days, we chanted the office in Latin. Two leaders led the inventory, standing in the aisle, chanting on a correct pitch. Many times, Veronica and I were often paired. Veronica was a good reader of Latin and could hold the pitch well. In her earlier retirement, Veronica was the Holy Family Hall organist. Music remained dear to her as long as it could. Our class met often just to be together to celebrate. We continued monthly at a meal at Clare House, even as we diminished. Once, when younger, we spent several days together in the Trappistines' stone house. We've had many class pictures taken together. 65 years was a milestone which we celebrated all day with corsages and activities together. The Sacred Heart was our specially chosen class patron. My memory of Veronica on her 100th birthday celebration is especially dear. As sister after sister came to greet Veronica, she would light up with joy and in remembrance of some special experience with each one. Together, both would laugh and enjoy what had happened together long ago. Veronica was beside of me at Donalda's funeral mass just 4 months ago. Now it's her own. I asked Veronica and the rest of the class to pray for our community and for me to join them for our next class meeting.
This is a remembrance that Sister Lene offers. I was with Sister Veronica at her last mission in Stacyville, Iowa. I remember her as someone who was very talented and quite humble. She could play the organ. She helped her classmate, Sister Lenore. She was very artistic, and she was good at sewing. Sister Veronica was the oldest of the 3 Schafers siblings who came to the convent and the last one to go to heaven. She also had a brother who was a priest. In 2005, when it was time for me to retire, I came to Mount St. Francis. I lived on 3rd floor Main, and Sister Veronica lived there too. When something needed to be done, Sister Veronica was right there to help. Thank you, Sister Veronica, for being one of us and for sharing so much of yourself with us. Thank you.
I'm Sister Mary Lou. I was blessed to live with Sister Veronica 2 times at Bancroft and Stacyville, and she was a blessing. A beautiful person to live with. She loved community, and like Sister said, she was so generous with her talents. One of the things I remember about her, she and Sister Lenore Ostick made some beautiful large cloth banners for the seasonal changes in church. And when the last time I was at Stacyville, they were still using those banners. She was also very artistic, as Sister mentioned. She did calligraphy, she did quilling, crocheting. She was an excellent cook and so loyal to her friends.
I'm Sister Mary Assumpta, and I've had the opportunity to be with Veronica and many times. She worked in the sewing room in these last years. She was an excellent seamstress, and before coming to Mount St. Francis, she had often made clothes for herself, and probably others too. And as my second opportunity with Sister Veronica was an opportunity for the retreat that was at Shalom, the Bonaventure's Soul's Journey into God. And after that experience, a group of us decided that maybe we ought to do a little more in that retreat, which we continued. And now Veronica was very, very interested in our Franciscan spirituality. That was her main kind of reading, either Franciscan, and she was into Chardin, his cosmic spirituality. So she was a deep thinker, and she would share that kind, and that was where she spent her time. And so she had the group that has gone to heaven from this Bonaventure group is now Gertrude Ann, Doris Ulrich, Benjamin Lansing, and Veronica's the fourth one of that group to join eternity, soul's journey into God.
Sister Carol Hensad, related to that earlier history that was reported to us, when I went to Alton, which was 1961, the school is still called St. Mary's Academy, and I think I don't know if it's because it had been a boarding school or if they were just a little elitist. I'm not too sure about that. But we were asked to write the Annals of the sisters. I think that happened at that time. I got the job, and among other things, I discovered that those Schafers had come from Oklahoma to St. Mary's Academy in those earlier days and boarded. They stayed there. I think it might have been, one of the winters might have been that 36 or whatever that horrible winter was when they got caught and had to stay at their place of whatever residing they were at. And she was very proud of that portion of her life, and it was fun just to make that little connection. There were others, Sister Lois Wagner from South Dakota, Margaret Gaum from Spencer or Royal or somebody over there, someplace. It was an unusual and unique thing. Thank you. The other night, and it's probably just 3 hours before Veronica died, I stopped in her room, and it was clear that she brought the best out of the staff. You should have seen how she was wrapped to keep her warm. She had 3 or 4 afghans over her lower extremities, and around her head was not one little cap, but one soft cloth, another soft cloth, and a third of some sort. And it was just probably what she had directed. It just let me know how she brought the best out of the staff, and they responded.
And speaking of that, Sister Marian Klosterman, the afternoon before she died, there were 3 of us in the room, and we were speaking with her, and then we said, we will pray the Our Father and the Hail Mary. Now, for all the world, it looked like Sister Veronica was not with us at all. I mean, she had her hair back, and she was in the last phase of her life. But we said the Our Father, and her jaw moved along with us. She was praying it with us, and it was just so amazing because it didn't seem like she was really present. She was totally there. And then she died that evening.
I had the opportunity of living with Sister Veronica for about 7 years, and all I can say is she was a wonderful person to live with. One of the things that I had was she had a group of students that were, how do I want to say it, under the grade level where they were supposed to be in math. And so these little kids would be sent to the home ec room in high school to be tutored by me, if that was ever funny. But anyway, that's what we were doing. She was also, as somebody else mentioned, a very good cook. She was always there to help with anything that needed to be done, and she was always there to observe if there was something new being done in the kitchen. She was just a great lady.
I'm Sister Lila Hillman. Veronica was the music teacher at Bancroft as well. And I know at one time they needed an organist and a director for the choir. Antonio Crusoe was the one who talked her into it, and I guess she did a beautiful job.
My name is Dorothy Swiniger. I had a number of conversations with Veronica over the years, not so much maybe recently when she wasn't quite as able, but before that. Many conversations that taught me much. And one thing I was always amazed at Veronica was how much she wanted to grow, even in her elder years. She would read books, she'd want to talk about them. She had really an amazing spirituality, deep spirituality. Her sister, Teresa, was a very good friend of my sister, Anne. And so Anne kind of, after Teresa was gone many years ago now, Anne got to know Sister Veronica, and Veronica said, because Teresa always had you, Anne, on her prayer list, now I'm putting you on. So whenever my sister came, she would always stop and see Veronica too. She was quite a dear lady.
I'm Sister Marge Burkle, and I live on 1 North with Veronica. And I would say in these last years since I was there, her greatest gift was her ministry of presence with us. Now, she couldn't hear much, she could not see much, but when the caregivers would bring her in, she came out every morning and had breakfast with us. And it was kind of like when she came into the dining room, everybody would say, oh, Veronica's with us, Veronica's here. And that was her gift to us, was her gift of presence. And last night, the caregivers were sitting out in the dining room waiting for the call lights to go on, and one of them said, this just seems so different without Veronica, because she had her light on quite often. And it was like they were missing her. And so I just thank Veronica for her faithful presence to us, even though she couldn't do a lot of communicating with us.
As we were informing the family of her death yesterday morning, one of her cousins said, I had a lot of siblings, and we were a lot younger than Sister Veronica, but we loved going over there because they were older and they really fussed over us when we were little kids. She said one thing we loved to do is go upstairs because they had a room that was a chapel. Imagine that. A room that was a chapel. So they produced Teresa, Teresita, and Veronica, and their brother was ordained a priest. Thank you for sharing your stories of her life. No doubt we will continue, our memories are jarred, and we'll continue to share some more as the days go on. We continue our prayer. Compassionate God, we come before you today as we remember our beloved Sister Veronica. We stand in awe of life, which leads to death, which leads to life with you. Thank you for the many years Veronica lived as a sister of St. Francis. Since she believed in your steadfast love and that you would walk with her from death into new life, we trust that you do carry her forward, allowing her to dwell in your presence forever. We ask this with trust in your Holy Spirit, now and forever. We conclude with that hymn and remember the Schafer name and all of the holy men and women which have graced the people of God. Shepherd me, O God, number 459, 459, and we'll sing verse 5 only.